And here to talk more about Prime Minister Maliki's visit to the U.S., I'm joined by Ambassador Bill Taylor. He is the Vice President for Middle East and Africa at the U.S. Institute for Peace. Thank you so much for being here with us. What is the solution here in Iraq? Al-Maliki is obviously blaming al-Qaeda for his country's unrest. Does he have a point here, or is he simply in denial about what's going on there?
No, he clearly has a point. Al-Qaeda is a threat to him. It's a threat to other neighbors, a threat to us, as we know. He does, though, have some things that he should be doing to enlist more of his countrymen, more Iraqis, to fight Al-Qaeda, which they did in the past while we were there. He needs to reach out to other parts of the population, in particular the Sunnis. And if he would do so, I think that they would then feel more motivated, as they have in the past, to take on al-Qaeda themselves.
So it sounds like it could be a good short-term solution without violence or military involvement, would you say?
Certainly without U.S. military involvement. And there is a political aspect to what Mr. Maliki has to do. However, there are undoubtedly military things that he has to do, that his military, that the Iraqi military has to do to track down and to contest for the areas that al-Qaeda is trying to dominate.
You told me you were there at his speech yesterday when he appealed for help at the U.S. Institute for Peace. What were your impressions in person?
My impressions were that the Prime Minister was more open than some people have been when they are on visits to the United States. He, for example, was very willing to take questions from the audience, and the audience was not hesitant or shy about asking him hard questions. He answered them very forthrightly. He, I think, has developed a real confidence in himself to be able to deal with these kinds of issues. And he's clearly got a message here for Americans that Iraq and the United States can be allies in this fight. We think there are things on the political side that he has to do. He thinks that there are things on the military side that we could do. But it was a useful and I think a constructive conversation.
Well, other than the United States, is he making the same appeal to other countries, or does he have any allies within the international community to help him in his country?
This is a good question. He does see the need to integrate more into the region. He understands that he needs to be working with Turkey. He needs to be working with other Arab states in the Gulf. He would like to be on good terms with all of the Arab states. He has some work to do there. He has to convince them that he is willing to take on al-Qaeda. He has difficulties, of course, convincing some of his Arab friends, neighbors, that he's not just a puppet of Iran. And I don't think he's a puppet of Iran. I think he clearly is a neighbor, and he has to have good neighborly relations. But I think he's his own man.
Regarding the violence taking place, what can be done there? Because things seem to be getting worse in Iraq.
They do. They do. There are two things, I think, that could be done. One is there can be closer coordination, even assistance exchanges between the United States and Iraq on intelligence gathering, for intelligence use. Some weapons, I think, would be useful if they are directed at al-Qaeda, at terrorists, not as they're directed at internal enemies that he may have on the political side. But that's on the military side. At least as important is his outreach politically to the Sunnis in Iraq and the Kurds. And if he were able to do that, he's got an election coming up next year. If he were able to reach out to Sunnis and Kurds, I think he would be stronger in his fight against al-Qaeda.
All right, Ambassador Bill Taylor from the U.S. Institute for Peace, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.